Welcome to Learn It, a series of digital scrapbooking tutorials by Studio Wendy at Scrapbook Graphics. Today we're going to take a quick look at some frequently asked questions regarding Lightroom templates. And the first one that I get most commonly is, what do I do when I open up the templates and they're not appearing on a 12 by 12 square, or in the case of some of the smaller sizes, they're not appearing on the right page size? And there's a few things that you can do to fix this problem. The first one is the easiest, and that is to come over here in the print dialog box here, and that's where we have our templates loaded. Scroll down to the print job section and then expand it open by clicking on the arrow next to it. And you'll see here it says print to JPEG file, and that's perfect. That's what we want there. And then down here, you'll see a custom file dimensions box. Go ahead and check that box and then type in the size you want it. So if you want 12 by 12, this is where you would enter it. If you want to resize it to 8 by 8, you could do that here. If you want your collage to be a different size entirely, you can enter that here. Now, the photo overlays that come with your download have all been sized to 12 by 12. So entering in 12 by 12 here is going to give you a matching file to work with the overlays. So with that selected, that should change your screen here to fit the full 12 by 12 size of that template. Now, it seems like some versions of Lightroom do not have this custom file dimensions box here. It could be because it is set to print to a printer instead of a JPEG file. That could be the problem. In that case, you can just switch it over to JPEG file, see if it pops up. If it doesn't pop up either way, then what you need to do is set your page setup, and that's over here on the bottom left. So click page setup. And then here is where you can get different paper sizes. So it may be that your screen looks like this because it's set to a letter size sheet of paper. I'm going to press undo and go back into the page setup dialog box. Now on a Mac, it's very easy to just come down here and say manage custom sizes, add a new size, and enter the dimensions. That works great. But on a PC, that custom file size option isn't always there. And what you end up having to do is install a print driver that contains a larger size sheet of paper. So for example, the Epson 1400 printer, I believe it is a wide format printer. That printer will handle up to 12 by 18 paper. And if you install that particular driver, that will enable you to change your page size here to a size that's larger than 8.5 by 11. So you should be able to get a 12 by 12 page size if you install that driver. So that's what you want to do here. You want to change your paper size if you cannot set a custom file dimension. The next question that I get often is related to that, and that's, how do I save this file with a transparent background? Some people don't want to place their background paper in Lightroom because they don't store their supplies there, and that's perfectly fine. You have a couple of options actually. The first one is to just export your page right like this, and it will have a white background to it. And then what we do in Photoshop is clip this to our overlay layer to get rid of that white background. Another option is to print this page to a PDF. And in order to do that, you actually have to change print to JPEG file to print to printer. And we're right over here in the print job options on the right hand side. It's the very last tab here at the bottom that you can expand. Once you set it to print to printer, what you can do is click printer, and then on the left where it says PDF, click Save as PDF. Then you can just enter your file name here and click Save. Now I'm going to go ahead and export a copy of this to JPEG as well so that we can go over and look at it in Photoshop and Photoshop Elements and see the difference. Okay, so now I have a JPEG and a PDF of these files, and we're going to go over and look at it in Photoshop. Okay, so I'm here in Photoshop Creative Cloud, and I have opened up the overlay template that matches the layout style that I put together in Lightroom. And the first thing we need to do is open up the PDF that we saved previously. So I'm just going to go to Command or Control O for open and select that PDF file and say open. That brings up the dialog box here for importing PDFs. Now you'll see here that under Crop To on the right hand side we have several choices. A lot of times when you open a PDF for the first time, it may say bounding box, and what that does is trim the page size down to the content on the page. But that's not what we want, because we want this page to match up exactly with the drop shadows that are already in the template. So in this case, we want to choose media box. Now it can take quite a few minutes for some computers and systems to open up this box and allow you to change this drop down. So if it's not immediately available, just give it a few minutes to load and then switch it when it pops up. Then just click OK. And that opens up our PDF, and you can see here we have a transparent background behind the photos. Now all we need to do is get this page into here, and the best way to do that and keep it in the exact same position is to hold in Shift Option or Shift Alt, then click and drag with your Move tool selected up onto the other tab, and then release your mouse, and it will pop right into place. So I'm going to turn off these text layers just so we can see what we're working with here. And now we have our layout with our drop shadow behind it, and we can easily add a background paper to go into this file. So I can grab one of these old world maps from Vicki Robinson, open it up, and I can pop that right into that file as well. And you'll see here everything lines up perfectly and we're good to go. And then I can easily embellish this layout. Now this works great in Photoshop when you have a transparent background already on this layer because it was a PDF. But what happens if we don't have a PDF, we have the JPEG instead because we couldn't save out the PDF? Let's go ahead and open this file up in the JPEG version. Let me just close out of these other documents. So I'm going to go to File, Open, and choose the JPEG file this time. Now because this is all the way to 12 by 12, I can drag and drop, or I can just select all, Command A, Command C for copy, Command W to close, and Command V to paste. Now we have here our layout with the white background. We can drag that underneath this layer, and in the regular video that's all you would need to do because your background paper would already be in here. But because we want to get rid of the background paper, what we really need to do is clip this layer to this overlay shadow layer. To do that, I hold in the Alt or Option key, hover my mouse in between the layers, and then click. You can see here that the drop shadows are showing up, but unfortunately our images are not, and that's because on this shadow layer the fill opacity is set to 0. So we just need to change that back to 100%. So I'm just going to scrub by clicking the word fill and dragging to the right, and do that again until I hit 100%. And now you'll see this layout is clipped to the shadow layer, and then we have our background paper behind it. So that works really great when you have a JPEG. Unfortunately, Photoshop Elements users cannot change the fill opacity layer by themselves. So let's pop over to Photoshop Elements and see how we can handle that over there. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop Elements, and I'm going to open the layout and copy it in here just like we did before. So I have my layer panel open. I'm going to go to File, Open. Select my JPEG file, select it, copy, close, and paste. And let's go ahead again and turn off these text layers so that we can see what we're doing. Okay, so when I select the shadow layer, you'll see it only gives me the option to adjust the opacity of the entire layer and not just the opacity of the fill. So that doesn't help us. So what we need is a set of styles, style layer effect styles, to override that option here on the shadow layer. So go to Edit, Preset Manager, change from brushes to styles, and then click Add. Then we're going to go into the zero fill styles that are now included with the download. And if you don't have these, make sure you contact me and I will give them to you. And then here is the zerofill.asl file, and we're going to say open. Now in some older versions of Elements, if you don't have a preset manager where you can load styles, you can still load them by copying these into the effects folder, and all the instructions for that are in the PDF that's included with the styles. So I'm just going to click open, and then you'll see here that these styles have been added to the file here. So I can click done. Now, when I go over to my effects panel, I have here my zero fill styles. If you've loaded them through the folder system, you would click on this drop-down menu and look for zero fill styles here, and then they will come up. So the first thing we want to do is apply the clear style to the layer. And you'll see here that took all of the styles off of that layer. We now have our black boxes back. So now we can go ahead and hover our mouse in between the two layers and clip the top layer to the bottom layer. And that gets rid of that white background. But we're missing our drop shadows. But that's fine because we can add them back in. Just click the shadow layer again, come back to the effects panel, and I've given you several shadow options here, or you can of course use any shadow style that you've already loaded, or you can just use the manual drop shadow button. So here, these first set, the 100% fill styles, are the one that you want to use. We have a large shadow and a small shadow option. So just double click it to apply it. I'll go ahead and add the large one so it's more easily seen. And we'll zoom in, and you see here we now have a drop shadow there. So now it's just a matter of opening our background paper, and then copying and pasting it in the file. And there we go. So that is how you can get rid of that white background in Photoshop Elements using the zero fill styles and a JPEG. The next question I often get is how to crop a photo in Lightroom. And this was covered in the original video, but let's just go over it again since I do get a lot of questions about this. The first thing you can do is hold in the Command or Control key and then drag the photo around within the box. Now the way Lightroom works is it will automatically fill the box with your photo. It will either base it on the width or the height, depending on whichever is the shortest, so that it fills the entire box, and then that leaves some extra on the other two directions. So those are the only two directions you can move your photo in. So holding in that Command or Control key will let you move that in one direction. So let's take a look at this one. You'll see this one I can't move it left and right, but I can move it top to bottom. Now what if I had a photo that I wanted to crop completely differently than what I have here? So maybe on this one I want to see more of the mountain here. In order to do that, I actually need to perform my cropping within the Develop menu. And it's real simple to do. Just have that photo selected within the box here. Click the Develop menu, and then click the Crop button, which is the first one over here. Now you can drag this in any particular size you want. Now right now mine is locked down to the original aspect ratio, but I can unlock it, and if I do that, I can actually crop it any way I want. So this is how you would get a vertical photo out of a horizontal one. So what I can do here is crop the photo more like this, and then click right back to the print dialog box. And then you'll see I still can only move the photo one direction, but it's zoomed in a lot more to see more of this volcano here. So that's how we can crop and move our photos from within Lightroom. So that's it for now. I hope these tips help make you more productive in Lightroom while you are creating and embellishing your collages. If you have any other questions, you're always free to email me at wendyzinescraps@gmail.com. I'm happy to answer them and point you in the right direction. And if we get more questions along the same topic, I'm happy to make another video and add it to the downloads. Thanks for watching. See you next time on Learn It.